Some ideas sound believable the moment we hear them, not because they're especially well supported and not because we've scrutinized them carefully, but because they're expressed with confidence. A clear statement, a precise number, a decisive tone. These signals can make an idea seem well founded long before we've had time to question it. This happens in everyday situations. A health headline that sounds authoritative, a financial recommendation that feels definitive, a travel tip that promises the best way to explore a destination. Often, the confidence surrounding the language creates the first impression of truth before the underlying substance is fully considered. In complex modern environments, we rarely have the time, the complete information, or the analytical tools to examine every claim in depth. So our brains rely on shortcuts. Confidence becomes a signal, clarity of expression becomes a guide, certainty can become a substitute for understanding. In this video, we'll explore why confidently worded ideas can make weak arguments sound persuasive and how recognizing this pattern can help us make more thoughtful everyday decisions. First, let's try a small experiment. I'm going to present two statements based on the same research finding. As you listen, notice which one sounds more convincing. This is the first statement. Some studies suggest that taking short breaks during work may improve concentration under certain conditions. Now consider this version. Taking regular short breaks significantly improves concentration and productivity. If you're like many people, the second version sounds clearer and more compelling. But the underlying evidence hasn't actually changed. The first statement reflects how research findings are often presented in more formal settings, as context-dependent observations. The second takes that observation and turns it into something closer to a general rule, removing the conditions that give it meaning. By removing uncertainty and caveats, the second version becomes simpler, but it also loses nuance. And together, that creates a stronger impression of truth. Confidence can function as a shortcut for credibility, and in everyday life, we rarely pause to analyze these differences, but they shape how we interpret information all the time. When language is concise and easy to process, our brains tend to treat that ease as a signal of credibility. This tendency is sometimes described as a kind of processing ease. We're more likely to trust information that's easy to take in. This effect shapes how we respond to advice, how we interpret headlines, and how we evaluate everyday claims. Repetition strengthens it further. The more often we encounter an idea that's expressed clearly and confidently, the more familiar and therefore believable it can begin to feel. In complex environments, these shortcuts aren't simply flaws in reasoning. They help us navigate large volumes of information efficiently. But when confident language replaces careful evaluation, clarity can become misleading. Ease of understanding can stand in for depth of evidence. Language has many ways of creating this sense of ease. One of the most common is the use of numbers. You'll often see claims framed with specific figures. For example, an improvement of 27% results in just 5 days. These details can make an idea feel more grounded and measurable, even when important context is missing. In these situations, precision can make a claim feel more certain than it actually is. A similar effect appears in structured phrasing. Ideas presented as lists, rules, or step-by-step systems tend to feel more manageable, and when something feels manageable, it often feels more trustworthy. But clarity of structure is not the same as strength of evidence. Technical language can create a similar impression. When something is described using specialized terms, it can signal expertise, even before we fully understand what's being said. And that signal alone can shape how credible the idea feels. None of these patterns are inherently misleading. They often help us make sense of complex information and act more decisively. But they can also create a strong sense of confidence around an idea, even when our understanding is still limited. When confident guidance feels clear and reassuring, it can shape behavior even if the underlying reasoning is incomplete. These impressions influence the small decisions we make every day, the routines we adopt, the advice we follow, the directions that begin to feel obvious. Over time, these influences accumulate. They shape habits, assumptions, and expectations about how life works. Sometimes the most confident directions are simply the easiest ones to follow, not necessarily the most thoughtful. In complex environments, life rarely presents perfectly clear routes. We move through signals, patterns, and cognitive shortcuts. Recognizing how language shapes our sense of certainty can create space for more deliberate choices. It allows us to pause long enough to consider nuance before committing to a path. Across these examples, a consistent pattern emerges. Familiar language can feel safe, confident language can feel true, simple language can feel useful. These impressions are not mistakes. They are adaptive responses to complex information. In modern life, we are presented with more claims than we can carefully analyze. This requires navigation, not constant optimization, and awareness of how ideas are framed is part of that navigation. Understanding how an idea is presented deepens our understanding of the idea itself, because in many real-world situations, how something is expressed shapes how we interpret its meaning and how we act on it. In environments filled with confident directions, thoughtful detours are often part of intelligent movement.